Bobby Barroso, Mike Smolin, David Tran, and Ross McCarthy. And honestly, I would like to just kick it off here. That's fine with you. Whomever wants to start first, maybe what you're seeing and what you find most interesting, right? A lot of people are talking about the spike in sales. A lot of people are talking about how stocks are reacting. A lot of people are talking about cannabis as an essential service. A lot of people are talking about how this will impact the future of legalization and how states will come to realize this could be, bare economic salvation when all of this is done. So, what are you seeing?
I don't know where that question, how do you guys want to do that? Answering that, because you have a lot of talent on this live, on this feed right now. If you guys don't mind, I mean, I'll start off and then we could I know we got Roz that's here and everybody is here has a lot of background on this. I've dealt with conversations today where, yes, it's kind of crazy where cannabis was a gateway drug and today where it's an essential. And I think it's in the right place for that. And I think the people on this panel and what we're talking about today have put a lot of time, effort, money, and just a lot of things behind this. It's been a really great push forward. It's tragic to kind of see what's going on right now with this pandemic. People are losing families, jobs, as we saw the job loss today, going across the board. But again, you're looking at different types of the industry. So you're looking at a cannabis essential where cannabis market is going, up. CBD market is depending on the states, kind of going down. You have businesses, we were on the phone today, that are having issues testing their products. You have laboratories that were testing in this industry that are struggling because they were only set up for hemp or CBD testing. So I think the market hasn't been able to really put a pinpoint on the direction that it's going. We have individual legislations on the states. I think Roz will be able to get more into that. She's very in tune to that. But I just got back before this whole thing. I was in South Carolina. I was in Louisiana. That's controlled by the ATC, alcohol, tobacco. So there's a lot of things that are going to affect the industry. And this is really, in my mind, in my space, is going to affect the hemp and CBD industry that was already going through a drastic change heavily. Do I think it's an opportunity? Yes, because the smaller businesses that are very maneuverable and can maneuver in an industry like this could kind of start off and have a blueprint of where the industry should go, and not just to be throwing darts at the wall, which that's what a lot of people have been doing. And we did it in the beginning, and we've obviously tried to set our own blueprint to make sure that states are protecting the consumer. So I still don't have a pinpoint of what on my side of the industry is. I know that it's affected our business, and we have over 100 employees, and we've had to furlough some. We know that it's going to be a tough 90 days ahead. It's not in our genetics to do something like that, but to survive and get to the end and actually create a business and continue to move forward. Companies are having to do that today across the board, in my mind. And I think the cannabis industry had gone through that over the last 12 months. You saw the end of this year, 2019, every cannabis company laid off people to try to get their numbers in place. So that's my opinion, and I'll just let somebody else jump in.
I have two questions for you in general, right? One, the topic you just brought up about layoffs. One thing I've seen is a lot of companies blaming COVID for layoffs. When these had started, quite some time before coronavirus even became a thing. And honestly, many times I feel personally this has been mostly tied to poor management and bad decisions and overextension and overspending. Do you feel the same? I feel a lot of people are simply, using it as an excuse now, like, oh, this caught us off guard. We have to 40% of our employees off. It's like,
there is no direction. There is no floor plan. There is no way a company, any kind of company, yes, has been bad management. Of course. I mean, it's a new business, new industry. It's like when alcohol started in the 30s and prohibition. So, I mean, you didn't have a direction. You didn't have a direct path. I think a lot of people looked at this business as just a dollar grab. if you didn't have a foundation and an actual true calling and mission put in your business plan, you cannot succeed in an industry that could change in a dime. So I think a lot of these cannabis companies realize that they needed to form the right way, get the things done, get true executives into place that could take it to banking, which is still an issue. Even for the hemp side and CBD, we have issues banking. We can't apply for small business loan. We may be able to, but the bank might turn us down because they don't like our business plan or type of business. So there's some challenges in that side.
So, Mike Mullen, I can, offer a little bit different perspective in a good way, in that we're a company, AltMed, that didn't get over its skis before this started. From the very beginning, we decided that we wanted to be, one of the best in Florida. Arizona was a way for us to get a business in Florida. But we were profitable in the second year of operation. I think one of two companies in Florida that is profitable. We've got 600 employees, and this opportunity right now, which is a challenge with COVID, has given us a chance to actually go out and help some people from some industries that are hurting right now. We're interviewing about 40 to 50 people that have been laid off from restaurants in the area to bring them on board to perhaps drive for us. We're increasing our deliveries over the course of the next few weeks. So, clearly for us, it's challenging because we have a couple priorities that are not easy. We got to make sure our patients feel safe coming to our dispensaries. We've got to make sure our employees feel safe. And when they're hearing that they can stay home, we don't tell anybody that they have to come into work, even though we're an essential business. But for the most part, I would say 95% of our employees feel obligated. They know we're part of something that's important. So they come into work every day, which is a great thing. So we're certainly running our business differently right now. Things that we're very aware of, like not wanting to attract large crowds to our dispensaries. We don't want to have one of the news stations showing 50 people hanging outside one of our dispensaries. So we're not running specials anymore. We don't do any announcements of grand openings. We just do sort of soft openings. We close all our stores on Sunday to do more thorough cleaning. But for the most part, we're doing quite well. People are still showing up. It's 2 weeks ago was the largest week in volume sales that we'd had over the last couple of years. I think a lot of people were probably afraid that the dispensaries would be shutting down and we're stocking up, but we had a very good week last week, and we're having a very strong week this week.
On the, I will say, Javier, on the nonprofit side, and I'm the founder. For those who don't know, Roz McCarthy here, founder and CEO of Minorities for Medical Marijuana. And I would say on the nonprofit side, and mostly on the small businesses, remember that the cannabis industry, as much as we have license holders and who own licenses and who are cranking out medicine and taking care of our patients, we also have small businesses who support the industry. And I will say that some of the small businesses, they are a little concerned. As a nonprofit organization, I'm very concerned because my support comes from the small businesses, the individuals, the corporations who say, Roz, we like your mission, we like what you're doing, we want to support you. And sometimes when you have a priority, and to me, the priority should be right now COVID-19. It should be about Corona. We have little cities like Albany, Georgia, that has 90,000 people there and has over 475 cases and 50 deaths. Like, that's a serious issue. And so for me, it's kind of hard when you want to go, hey, don't forget about me, but you also know that right now there is a serious issue going on worldwide. And so you try to figure out how to stay afloat. So we did a webinar this past Monday, and we had Dustin Robinson on, Mr. Cannabis Law, and he talked about the stimulus package. And he talked about that there's funds for those small businesses who are struggling. And if you're in the cannabis industry, if you're in the hemp industry, if you were started or if you were getting your business going and now you figure for the next 90 days you're going to be struggling, we need to know there's funds out there and support out there to help those small businesses. And so that's kind of where I want to, just from being in that space, want to figure out how I can get the word out, how I can help educate, and how we can provide, support.
Yeah, Javier, you know, my background is in media. Of course, I started Dope Magazine many years ago, and we ended up starting a company not too long ago that specializes in events, Fairchild.
You read my mind. I was going to pivot to that question.
Yeah, which, as you can see, is a very tough business to be in. And we have been affected absolutely, you know, very deeply. And, you know, to me, I've been speaking to a lot of my media you know, partner and friends out there, and they're going through a lot, right? You know, as you can see, you know, people are trying to be pretty cautious with how they're spending money. They don't know if, you know, let's just say, for example, the stores right now, while they're doing well, might not need to advertise or want to gain traction on that. So it's really affecting a lot of these ancillary businesses, including media, who has to really change the way they're looking at things. Magazines, for example, you can't pick them up at a store anymore. So what do you do, to me, most importantly, and I think a lot of them would say the same thing, how do we take care of our clients, right? We've been taking care of them, giving them the tools to succeed, and now that's being taken away. And, you know, events were another, you know, opportunity for people to market their businesses. And right now I would be down at Hall of Flowers producing a show. We had to cancel that. 420 is coming up, which is the hugest tentpole in, you know, every single year. Everyone looks forward to that spike and that ability to really launch off the new year. And that is being taken away from us. And, you know, as a business too, all of our events have been canceled that we were producing. So, you know, not only are we being affected that way, but companies who are starting like us and we're on the fundraising path, those capital markets are drying up. People are cautious. People are not opening up their checkbook right now. Especially, you know, I'm a great salesperson, but I can't sell people that the events right now are happening, right? That it's
I feel you, David.
Incredible.
How do you adapt, and how do businesses who rely heavily on events to get the word out, to promote themselves, to raise capital, to generate awareness around their brands, how do they adapt? And you know, these are two very different questions. One is, how do you pivot, you know, in your business model right now? And the other one is, how do other businesses do to, you know, what other resources can they leverage in times where events are not an option?
Absolutely. And I guess I'll just speak to that first, because we're finding ourselves having to completely pivot on what's going on and how do we stay relevant? How do we do what we, to me, centrally to the core, what we do is connect people. And you're seeing it right now. You know, we're learning this new technology. You know, we were talking earlier about being at a birthday party with 30 people online, and people are now starting to do webinars and really getting that information out. And I've actually gotten really great feedback from that, you know, where people are going to conventions, they're listening to people talk here, they're able to specifically, kind of cater towards what the information they're looking for. And to me, you know, with 420 coming up, and I don't mean this to be a shameless plug, but we're really building a virtual 420 telethon where we're bringing in all of our media partners, because again, it's always about locking arms right now. There's people right now that just got really hit in the stomach, and right now just recovering, figuring out what they can do. So, you know, it's not necessarily in our core competency to do a virtual online event, but you know, so many people in other industries, and this is kind of to the nature of cannabis, has done it before. So we're not reinventing the wheel. We're just bringing their resources in. They're looking at an uptick, like people who are doing podcasts and all that. They're looking at a real uptick in audience members, radio shows, all these type of things. So we wanted to work hand in hand with them, build a virtual event, get everybody involved, celebrate the holiday, because I think everyone needs some, you know, lifting of spirits too. Yeah. Number two, give the businesses this opportunity to promote their brand, because what a shame. I mean, we've invested so much money in our brands by going to these shows, doing that. And next thing you know, it's like chop the momentum that you've built, because you always build a campaign to keep it going and build on the momentum. Now it's just getting chopped on the leg. So it really has equalized everybody's. And I don't think I'm the only one that's doing these events, and we just continue to want to, again, support the industry and also do something meaningful for less fortunate people, charities. You know, we see an uptick in people giving, we have to continue to do that, because at the very nature of what the cannabis industry, we're like an ethos of giving. That's what we've been doing for a very long time, been giving with the fear of persecution, fear of like, you know, building a business and not having the resources that every other business gets. So I just think that during this time, everyone's reevaluating what they're doing. We're also reevaluating our business plan from a platform point of view and what it looks like after this.
And Javier, I will tell you this, the funny thing about it is that the radio podcast and the webinar platform is not like it's brand new, because I used to be on Arby's radio show, and that's how I got the idea. I used to do my own, right, Arby? And I got the idea to start doing Canada Talk with Roz, which was a Facebook Live show that happens every week because of Arby. So it's just kind of cool how it's almost like a 360 where everybody's now coming around to different ways of reaching, you know, people, especially in this trying times.
Yeah, definitely interesting. Here's one thing I was left thinking about two things in regards to what Roz was saying earlier. One is, you said it, for me right now, it's all about COVID. And I don't know if I agree. I don't know how I feel about this. Today is International Autism Awareness Day, right? And I still think people should be paying attention to that. It's not like people stop suffering just because a lot of people are currently suffering the consequences of a COVID outbreak. So it's hard to balance it out, you know, what's more urgent, what's more important, right? Because to me, you know, why would you stop supporting, for instance, today an autism awareness organization? You know, they need it too. So I don't know, how do you feel about
I can honestly tell you, we will not stop giving. I think Roz has met with us when we had a van full of 500 turkeys going for Thanksgiving. We've continued to do that across the board. We give to our first responders. We give away to our veterans, canines. We are heavily involved in the industry, but the tighter it gets, the harder it becomes. So on your point, yes, I mean, there's nothing that's more important. And sick people sometimes it's almost hurtful at times, because family members that have beat this stigma now do cannabis because they had somebody get sick in their family. So I think it all twirls in together. Autism, obviously, it's extremely important. But I think people are now stuck at home, so it's kind of really hard to kind of get away from thinking outside the box, that there's other things happening in the world every day. People are still diagnosed with cancer. There's autism. There's all kinds of different things that are going on every day that has not going to change. But this really set everybody back on a social standard. I'm Cuban. My background's Cuban. I was born and raised in Florida. You know, we're very touchy people. We, you know, Argentina, you're with us from, you know, that's a very touchy-feely thing. So besides, and again, nothing that's worse than obviously, you know, finding out a family member is sick. But when you restructure society with something that's happening right now, it really causes a shock to anybody thinking else outside the box, when there's nothing that's better or worse. Obviously, we're going through issues, economic, pandemic. We will make a quick turnaround, God bless, when we could get a hold of this. But yes, I think that it's not because people are not thinking about it. We work with Alzheimer's Foundation, arthritic. We're part of that. I'm part of their board. We've given back to, you know, almost across the board, everything that we could do, we've done. But truly, I wouldn't be telling you the truth if I was saying that, yeah, COVID's on my mind 24/7 from the second I wake up, how I get home, how I undress when I get at my house, what cups do I go. I have nobody in my office. We literally have like 6 people in our building, and we all stay away from each other. You know, and that's not what our industry is about. Our industry is about sharing.
But COVID is affecting all of these other, you know, diseases too. We're talking about hospital beds that are not available for these people. That again it's happening. Cancer is still happening. Injuries are still happening. You know, I mean, there's just so many things that are still happening, and it's just so, you know, just so crazy that this virus here has affected their ability to get care right now. So I think more than ever, to your point, we need to bring more awareness to all of these organizations. And that's really why, you know, even for our charity event, we wanted to choose Feeding America, simply because there are bigger things. This is bigger than all of us right now, right? Yeah. It's not just about finding ways to support the cannabis industry. How do we support the whole human society right now so that we can get closer to normalcy here? And, you know, I just encourage people to continue to, if you can, keep on supporting those things, keep on sharing those things. We have these huge platforms that we can continue to pass these messages out to. And I think right now everyone's willing to. There's this moment in time where everyone's willing to do more, because there's not anything else we're doing right now except for that, you know? And
I think that, you know, what you're saying is absolutely true, because it's very humbling right now for those of us that actually have a business that's operating. Sometimes I feel pretty guilty when I look at so many other people, but I know we're delivering a really needed service. So I keep reminding myself of that. But I will tell you, AltMed has always been a company from the time we started it that wanted to be recognized for more than just a company that was going to provide marijuana to patients. We've had a very active philanthropic part of what we do that started all the way back before we had a license with ALS foundations and pediatric epilepsy and so on and so forth. We have gotten way more generous in the last few weeks and our efforts and the things that we're doing. We just attended a wonderful, right before they shut everything down, ALS Foundation. We knew how much money we had budgeted to provide to that foundation. We almost tripled that night in donations to them because we really do want to give back. And we know a lot of people are hurting out there right now. And so if we can do it on that front, and we can hire, you know, people who are out of work, as many as we can right now, I think that's a good thing.
Definitely. I would like to stay with you, Mike, for a second. And maybe this is a question that I'd like to hear from each one of you. So maybe we can go Mike, Arby, David, Ross, because again, I'm taking from another one of the things that Ross mentioned, and we started talking about cannabis as an essential service, right? It's being considered an essential service across the country, and yet it was not included in the economic stimulus package. I received 1 million emails from people saying we're disappointed, we're surprised. I wasn't. Personally, like, why would the federal government come out and endorse something it considers illegal, and it considers it has no medical properties whatsoever? I mean, I disagree, but I was not surprised. I would like to know how you felt about this, because so many people were telling me, like, I cannot believe this. It's like,
when I saw, you know, when I saw the language from the stuff that Governor DeSantis put out in Florida. You know, I had that thought too initially, you know, geez, I don't see medical cannabis specifically mentioned, but I know that we have been thought of as, you know, getting the same kind of treatment that pharmacies get. So I chalked it up to that. I said, you know, I guess Governor DeSantis doesn't want to come out and actually highlight that he's supporting medical cannabis. But at the same time, I felt very confident that he was aware that our business was considered essential. So I understand exactly what you're saying, but we've come so far, and everybody on this call knows that. You know, I didn't know anything about cannabis, you know, right up until 2014. I'd come from the pharmaceutical and biotech industry. And once I, you know, did my research and saw what this plant can do, you know, I was all in. But it's what has happened, particularly in the last couple of years, has been extraordinary. I mean, we have made tremendous leaps in this country. It's been a sea change. So I'll take where we are today, you know, even though, you know, we may have our noses out of joint a little bit that somebody isn't carrying the flag for it. We're able to move this thing forward in a very big way, much further and faster than I thought we could have when I started in this industry.
I couldn't agree more. I think first the state of Florida, I think DeSantis, our Governor DeSantis, has done a great job. Obviously, he's not going to stand on a platform and say, hey, I'm for this. But I'm glad that he came out on that. For us, it was having Senate Bill 1020 pass. And that's something that we help champion with a good group of people in our side to make kind of CBD a food. So we are an essential product, which is big for us. I know that they got permitting for be able to sell it, but having that opportunity, looking back at it now, that's huge for our side of the industry, because and we're not medical, and CBD in my mind has its nutrients and its potentials on that side, and we can't say that. Cannabis can be said that it's medical because that's what it stands for in the state of Florida. It's medical cannabis, and people go to that for their medicine at this point. But for us, it was really important for it to be considered a food and an essential product because in that. But that's not the same in every state. I've been around the cannabis industry since 2008, had our dispensary, our hydroponic store, did the whole 9 yards, kind of shifted into the CBD because Colorado was a little too cold for me. So I kind of went in that direction, and I stuck to that plan no matter, and I'm a full plant guy. Don't get me wrong. If I had the opportunity to be in cannabis, I would. But Tracy, I congratulate your company on what you guys have been able to do and what cannabis has become in the state of Florida. And I applaud a lot of the things. I was in DC in December, and there was a lot of people. I was at Kelly Dyer. It came out in Capital Journal. And we had a lot of important people in a room, and people were just, oh, well, why aren't we doing this? And why isn't the FD doing that? I was like, being on the hemp and CBD side, and we just made it kind of deschedule it in 2018. We're come a long way being in the business CBD of 7, 8 years, but legislative wise, I think we're moving very rapid. So I think this might even change the landscape for cannabis, and hopefully the FDA could come on something. I think cannabis should be descheduled completely. In my mind, I think the plant should be allowed to everyone and anyone over the age and under the age, go recommended by a doctor, because there's a lot of ailments and drugs that are fed to our children nowadays that they should not even be close to ever. And I trust cannabis across the board and CBD across the board over any kind of pharmaceuticals, depending on obviously the sickness and stuff like that. But I'll leave you with this. My daughter, when she was young enough, turning 18, I told her, I'd rather you medicate than have alcohol. My daughter doesn't do either one today, but I gave that opportunity to my family because I chose that, because I understand how that fits in society better than alcohol in my mind, and that's my opinion. So I think Florida's done a great job. I think essential is going to be a big thing as we move forward. We can hang our hat on that when we go and lobby and say, hey, you made this an essential product, during these times, but what's taking you back now? So we could actually hold their feet to the fire on something like this because they've made it an essential good.
To me, I think our industry's been used to not having the support of the government, for a long time. This is not anything different. It's not like they've changed their, stance on it. I think we still got a whole long ways to go, and I think the only solution really is to get to full legalization, so there isn't any gray areas that people are playing in, which that again, we're used to working in that gray area and not having that support. So while it's essential, and all of us, it's essential for each of us in many different ways, and maybe during this pandemic even more essential, for mental health, for physical health. You're not going to the doctors anymore. You're not going to go to your chiropractor right now to, for back pain. You're not going to and people are, also drinking less also, and finding cannabis is a great alternative for relieving this anxiety that we're all going through. In fact, it's just such an amazing medicine for me to be able to kind of keep my head at my equilibrium and, continue to be productive. And that's the great thing about what cannabis does nowadays is it's not what we knew from the past. It's doing many different things, and it has many different ways to help people live their best life. So essential it is, and I agree with you that, the fact that they made that word essential, I think we can utilize that, from the lobbying point of view. But, for now, it's kind of par for the course. You know what I mean? Did I expect them to help the cannabis? No, they're not helping us with taxes, not helping you with, 280E. They're not helping you with all of these other things. You know what I mean? It's still going to continue to be a challenging industry until that does change. But you're right, we've made a lot of strides. And, I do want to keep my eye a lot on the positivities that have been, happening in our industry. But at the same time too, man, kudos to everyone that's doing this. We're doing it handicapped. You know what I mean? We're doing it without the full power and support of the people that are actually taking the money and utilizing it for other things. So I, look forward to that day when, we have the same rights and the same, available tools to help us build this industry. But until then, we're just going to have to, work twice as hard to do the same thing.
Definitely.
So
And back to Todd.
So I will wrap this up by saying that no, I'm not surprised, because when you talk about anything that has a federal funding perspective, if you have a industry that's federally still illegal, it does not surprise me that it's not there. But the irony of this is the fact that the country, state by state, is seeing cannabis as essential, and Black and brown folks saw it essential a long time ago and were going to jail for it. And so I'm gonna remind you guys, as much as we are talking about this, do not forget about the individuals who have, in communities who have been decimated. As much as my heart bleeds for the healthcare side, for the veterans, the population, I will not apologize, and I will not stop advocating for individuals who have borne the burden of this industry. And so now you have, it's just such a dichotomy, and you guys have to understand from a you get frustrated because you go, it's essential, and folks were saying it was essential for them a long time ago, and no one was listening. No one was saying, it was like, you are doing this, you are, you are this bad person, we're going to arrest you. And so now to see this happen in a matter of, years now, but since legalization has happened state by state, to see this now looked as an essential part of the economy, a part of America, we just want to challenge folks also. Don't forget about why it was deemed as not essential before, and who bore the brunt of some of that, the negative stigma, the bad vibes, the arrest records, and things of that nature. So that's just my passion and what I fight for, and that what I advocate for, as much as as anything else that we see and we talk about today.
And I have to agree. We have to free those prisoners that have been put in jail for this plant that now is deemed essential. We need to find a way to get those people out. Their lives have been affected for something so small as a small plant, and their whole life has changed. Their child's life has changed. Everyone that's in their family line has been affected by it. And the only way to take a little bit off that is to let those people out of freaking prison for those non-violent offenses.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and it goes more to that, we can go ad nauseum on that, and that's a whole nother conversation. But it's not only let them out of prison, but why should this industry, and you guys know, this as much as I know, that this industry, the way we look at it right now, it tilts very heavy on one side. From an economic perspective and a boom, it tilts very heavy on one side. On a negative, incarceration, no opportunities, it tilts heavy on another side. How do we balance it, people? And let's talk about that. And maybe now is not the time to talk about it, but that's where I want to push our industry, and I mean because I believe we're all in it together to figure out how do we balance. So thanks, Javier, for that question.
So an interesting thing to take into account, I remember a few days ago, there was this open letter signed by the Marijuana Policy Project and the Last Prisoner Project, and then, clergy and former cops and normal, calling exactly for this, for the release of nonviolent cannabis offenders. So do check out, I think on the Marijuana Policy Project's website, you'll find this letter and ways to help, right?
Yeah.
And again, there's, this is a time when all these organizations are really coming together. In previous months, I had heard from one, saying the other one is not doing enough, or they're not real enough, or they're not committed enough. And it's interesting because now they've all come together, at least, during hard times, to support one unified cause. So, anyone watching, please check it out.
Thank you.
You were going to say something. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No. I was going to, I applaud those people that are coming together for issues like that and other issues. I just always say, take it take it, we sometimes we're up here in the cannabis industry, but we don't go back down to the grassroots level of the people that's actually affecting and getting buy-in and getting support and doing online campaigns and what have you. And that's where I say use your resources, use advocacy groups like M4MM, support us, and let's work together, because if we do that, we could totally make a difference and we could totally change some things. So again, I don't want to take up the air in regards to this situation, this question about the state of the industry right now. But it's just something that, again, is a passion for me. And it's something that it sits in the back of all of our minds, I think, as we go along and as we run our businesses.
Roz, it's important. Absolutely important.
Yep. I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
So circling back a little bit into the stimulus package, I see one person on the Facebook comments brings up small business association loans. And right now, one of the things the stimulus package did reach was the hemp industry through SBA, through the USDA. Have you seen any impact already? How does this play out? And for most people who are not particularly aware of what this means, because hemp is not actually mentioned in the stimulus package, but it is reached by it through many of these government agencies because it is now deemed federally legal. So how does this play out?
Well, it qualifies, and if you guys go on M4MM Minorities for Medical Marijuana, M4MM United on Facebook, and scroll down. Yesterday we put something from Dr. Cannabis Law. Basically, it goes down. It tells you from an economic injury disaster loan that's a for-profit. It talks about paycheck protection program. So if you have people, if you have an entity and you want to protect, if you have payroll and you need support with that. So the good thing about it is that hemp is now a legal entity throughout the country. And so you didn't have to denote hemp as a business that would be a part of the stimulus package, just by the fact that it is legal and the fact that the federal government recognizes hemp production, hemp processing. It recognizes is, I think those companies and ancillary businesses should be able to apply for some of these supports. So we have, here's a whole bunch of, this is all the information here. If you go to our website and then, and also to our Facebook page and Instagram, it really breaks it down for you.
Awesome. Arby, any additional thoughts?
For us, it's been, we've gone, our team has been through webinar after webinar, kind of seeing where, again, we're in a position of, we're blessed to be in the position that we're at today, obviously, as a company. But yes, we are looking at all these other avenues. We've always had challenging times with banks. I've been in business since we incorporated since 2013. We've probably lost 5 or 6 banks over the time. Merchants, let's not even talk about that. We just lost this last 2019 July, Evalon and US Bank eliminated the industry. So whether it's hemp is legal or whether it's in that bill, banks are still looking at it differently. So however it's analyzed, they really have still challenges with it. We ship products, we put our COAs, all that's great. So a lot of things have changed there, but the banking's still somewhat challenging for us. So we are looking at opportunities for us to not have to furlough employees or have to go in that direction, depending on how long this lasts. Obviously, if it, God forbid, continues 90, 120 days, we need to be prepared now. So we are looking at different avenues right now, just to be prepared. God forbid this thing continues to go in the wrong direction, which is continue to get worse and worse and worse.
What about
Excuse me?
No, I said, what about COVID? Like, how does it impact you specifically?
The banking part in particular?
I was thinking about the hemp side of things, but why not the banking part?
well, I can talk to 2 pieces. I'm much more interested in the hemp part these days because we're getting ready to launch our Move product line with hemp-derived CBD. And so I'm certainly looking forward to talking to a couple of the folks that I met today on this call about that. On the banking side, we've been fortunate in both Arizona and Florida that we've had pretty strong banking support. What has been interesting is that on the personal side, because I've been very willing to be out there and be a spokesperson for what we do, I've lost my personal bank 3 times. And that's been a little bit interesting. And it seems like every time I do something in Sarasota, the bank that I'm working with calls me up and starts asking questions about what is AltMed and what do they do and so on and so forth. So we've been fortunate on the you know, at least with our company, but personally, it's been a little bit challenging over the last 4 or 5 years.
Mm-hmm. Now, moving on a little bit, David, you're more of a digitally focused kind of person, a content guy. So like, you know, there's many companies and many small businesses, as Ross mentioned, struggling right now. So would you be able to share some ideas if you knew, again, like ways in which businesses can adapt, can continue to drive growth and sales, can continue to generate engagement and community participation when it comes to their brands?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I'm a print media guy. That's where Dope started. And of course, as the years go on, we needed to really transition into what, you know, more traditional media or more media, digital media is concerned. But we do still have a lot of those magazines. You know, I advise for Sensi magazine. And again, you know, when you can't pick up the magazine, it's very difficult to run a magazine company. So, you know, they immediately got together, and again, through a very hard time. Now their salespeople don't have, you know, assets to sell anymore. So they've had to move very quickly and get together and mobilize and start talking about how do we put together a show. And then you start talking about what is this show going to highlight, what kind of content they're going to build. So I think people are moving really quickly to make these changes. And so Sensi has put together a show every Friday. They put together a program called Sensi Cares, where it's really a support system for all the businesses to call in and do this on a large scale level and bring in people that can help them with answering questions. And, you know, there's a lot of experts here. These experts can really help shed some light on how companies can get through that. Because ultimately, a job of a media company is to supply these tools to their clients. And when they can't, you know what I mean, it makes it really hard for them to stay afloat. So I mean, just was on the, you know, High Times investor call yesterday, and again, how many changes now we have to change. And you know, they're looking to move into the retail world now. Mm-hmm. And you know, going public, is this the right time to go public while everything is going on and the stock market is in the trash and it's getting a little bit better? The cannabis stocks are doing a little bit better, so maybe there's an opportune time to, you know, IPO here. But certainly, you know, if we're talking about, public, ability to support and have extra income to invest, people are holding on tight, right? Cash is king right now. It's just like, hold on to your pockets, because we don't know what's going to happen. If we knew that this was going to end in 3 months, we can all plan for it. We don't know. And to me, the magazines and events, for me, even if they allowed us all to see each other, let's say next month, it still will take 2-3 months for people to feel comfortable with getting together like that. So the world that we know is changed. And, you know, as you know, Javier, my life has been about flying, seeing people in face, touching them, hugging them, sharing, you know what I mean, a joint with them, and really kind of doing business on that grassroots level. I believe that's how things get really done. And the ability not to do that, how do we still maintain that level of connection? Or, you know, is it, even across the board for everyone, and this is the new way of doing things? But, you know, there's still a long ways to go. And again, I think the uncertainty is going to be very hard for people to make their plans out. And, kind of moving into investors too. You know, I mean, everyone is always raising money if you're getting into that situation. So how is that the market's going to affect that? I mean, I've heard quotes from people going, nope, we're turning it all off. Nope, we're funding nothing. Debt financing, shut that off. Right. Even all of the cannabis facing companies right now, forget about the people who are just scared of just, in general right now. Think about the cannabis people who've been investing it. They're turning it off too. And I don't want to speak for everybody, but that's what I'm seeing. They're just like, let's wait and see. And that wait and see is going to kill a lot of businesses.
Yep. David, you nailed it, brother. You nailed it. There's everything from attorneys to janitorial services to transportation, distribution, product manufacturers, auditing, compliance, POS systems, printing, labeling companies, general contractors, sales teams, recruiting, education, training, providers, I mean, this really puts a halt. That's the backbone of the industry. And so right now, I think this type of setup, and shout out to C-Lab, the Cannabis Lab, and Robert Friedman for having this, having this conversation, because we're going to have to really just grab each other and do virtual hugs and virtual, it's going to be okay, and hang in there and sharing good information and making and building new relationships, and just trying to be mindful of I'm looking at it as like there's only 6 months in the year of 2020. It's going to start July and go to December. And that's kind of how I'm starting to figure out how to plan, my time, my resources, how to build a business. And, but I do think that things like this help us to, if nothing else, give us some hope of it's going to be okay.
Definitely. Now, here's an interesting point that David was touching on. And I was thinking about it a little bit. Is it a good time to launch anything at all? And again, here's an anecdote, a little anecdote. I don't want to drop a plug, but I will. About a month and a half ago or 2 months ago, I started working on the launch of a Spanish language news website and informational website called elplanteo.com. Visit us. And, honestly, when all of this started really becoming a big issue, a pandemic, I was hesitant whether it was a good time to actually release this to the world or not. And I'm still doubtful. It's out there, it's getting traction, but is it the right time or not? Right. So there is no easy answer. So I really want to know what you think. Like, for certain products or brands, it might be a great time to catch a lot of eyes, but is it ethical? Is it okay to do it now?
A lot of people would say that, during these times that there's going to be a lot of opportunities, and that's going to be sad, but true, right? It's just like companies are going to go out of business. It has been such an equalizer of what's happening. And to my point earlier, everyone has been investing in their business to grow it, gain momentum. Boom, chop it all down. Now you're back at this level where everyone, I wouldn't say is on the same playing field, but it's allowing people to enter into this probably at a time where people are, figuring out either if they're going to be alive or if they're going to need to redo their business plan. So, is it, maybe it shows right now that we all have to start looking at our business plans a lot differently. We're all obviously going to have to get a lot leaner. And, if you could build your business lean right now and continue to expand on your idea right now, perhaps if you get through this, you're going to, be better off. But, still, I don't have an answer for that. Same way, it's just like people ask me, is it a good time to invest in the stock market, cannabis stocks? I don't freaking know. You know what I mean? I thought it was when it did, and now it's nothing. You know what I mean? I was like, sweet, but now I don't know. I can't give you that answer.
Javier, I started a company. A company. I came up with the idea during this time, and it's a research institute. It's called the Institute for Minority Health and Endo Cannabinoid Research. And I'm like you. I was like, is it a good time now? But it came to me in this whole pandemic and talking about, there was an article that talked about cannabis and the use of cannabis because the coronavirus, it attacks receptors in the lungs. And so disclaimer, I'm not a doctor. I just read a lot. So please, but basically what I read, it talked about receptors in the lung. And of course, we know the endocannabinoid system has those receptors, and not saying that cannabis would be a treatment to cure, but could it be a preventative? And so I started looking at this, and I created Unheard, the Institute for Minority Health and Endocannabinoid Research. I got to build out the website. I'm building out a think tank of people that are researchers and scientists and medical professionals to talk about health equity, health disparity, and as it relates to the endocannabinoid, basically where cannabis and health equity meet. So, maybe now is the time to come up with new ideas and new approaches to problems.
Mm-hmm.
From my perspective, I really, I guess I'm such an optimist. I'm such a glass half full kind of guy. And there's a big difference between thinking that this thing, maybe we got a couple more months of this versus this is going to go on for a year or two. I'm tending to believe we got a couple months,
Yeah.
And I think the fundamentals of our economy were pretty good before all this stuff started. And the fact that our industry right now is considered an essential business, at least the medical cannabis part of it.
Yes.
I'm really excited about what I think could happen, what will open up in 8 or 12 weeks here for all of us, for everybody on this phone.
Yeah.
Because I do think there are a lot of people, even people in my neighborhood, when I'm going for walks now, and they know that we're open. They're not all that supportive maybe of cannabis, but they're starting to look at what I do a little bit differently because of the fact that we are open and because patients do need this and need it during a very difficult time. So I actually think something really good is going to come out of all of this for all of us, as long as this thing doesn't go on for a year or two.
I'm just hoping the people, like you said, in the 2 to 3 weeks can actually survive it. And
I know.
what we're looking at. There's people that were ready, like to Javier's point, we're having a hard time building a business already. Something like this just absolutely just breaks it all down. And again, with no parachute or no safety net of investors out there going, cool, the cannabis is so exciting, like it was like years ago.
Right.
There's going to be people that really get hurt. But I do take on your sentiments about being optimistic about it. And to Roz's point too, pull her in, just like it's just like the collaboration right now is how we're going to get through the other side, because we need to hit the ground running right when we go there, right? The industry might not be caught up. We're still going to, it's like events aren't just going to pop up right away. Everyone's going to be cautious. Everyone's going to be like, is this the right time to spend the millions of investment to build an expo or to build this investment? We don't know yet. So I just hope that people can hold on as long as you can.
David, I can tell you right now, listen, this business, as you know, it's taken everybody on this page a really long time to build, and we're still building the businesses and the foundation. But I'm going to take Tracy's say, I'm an optimistic, but I'm a realist at the same time. I think, and that's why I asked you earlier, your home, where you live now, David, have you seen something? Because we're all trying to educate ourselves on where this may go. And I think watching you guys go through what you do in Seattle and kind of almost not grabbing a hold of it, but understanding that we need to stay inside and social distancing. If that's going to be the pattern and we could get through this, there's going to be opportunities in this industry across the board. Is there going to be carnage? I'd be lying to tell you if there's not. That's the real part of any type of business in any industry, especially with the challenges that we have in our own. I am afraid of, what we've had 3 events that were canceled. We were going to be in Cannabis. We were going to be at Expo West, all these places that we were going to be at. Even though all that, we still had products that we launched. We launched 5 new products, in the last 45 days, of products because of labeling requirements. So we needed to kind of make sure that those labels fit in the state of Florida or all these other places. But I think there's going to be opportunities. And again, for the people that are doing it for all the right reason and have the passion to be in this industry, as the people on this page today, we're not walking away from this business. We're not going to be like, oh, well, this is an issue. We're going to stop doing this. Do we need to run leaner? Yes. Do we need to be smarter? Yes. Do we need to take advantage of the opportunities by being home, getting on Cannabis Lab, Robert Friedman invite, or getting on our social media platform, our iPods, kind of sharing information, and at the same time working on what our business plan is going to look like 90 days from now. Our original business plan, it's got shut off. We launched our products. Where are we going to go from here? But we're not going to stop at innovating or thinking ahead of ourselves. Being in an industry where we've had a lot of challenges, and we've had to wear what I call our Nikes, because you're always having to jump from one side to the other, and you don't know what industry is going to do or what legislation is going to do or regulations or rules. We're used to this in this industry. The people that have been, bled in this industry that understand it are very, very mobile and agile. And for the people that are trying to get into the business, they might not understand it. They don't get it. They're trying to learn it, and it's harder. And it really is really hard to learn what you need to do in this industry. But once you get to that 4 or 5 years, 6 years, you're involved in government. I mean, I'm the chairman of the Medical Marijuana Advisory Board. I own a hemp and CBD company, but I believe in full plant. We're a board. We respond to Broward County. We've had elected officials summits. We've had first responder summits. That we've had one of the largest gatherings of elected officials, thanks to Mayor now Holness. So we are not, what we're not going to do is give up. What is going to happen is there's going to be a lot of opportunities out there, but the people on this page, Roz and I, we were on the radio in 2015, you know, and we've not changed our gear. You guys do. Everybody that loves this business and sees something forward, it's not going to walk away.
Yeah.
We're just going to keep on doing what we've known what to do. And the blessing would be, yes, if this is over 8 to 12 weeks, we catch our curve, things start getting better. You know, Abbott comes out, we have, you know, for people to breathe, maybe we have a vaccine, we have something in the play where people could kind of get back to somewhat normality. Are we going to be hanging out, you know, at Vegas and, you know, at one of the events and we have everybody at the booth or we're medicating outside? I don't think that's going to happen for a long time. You know, in my mind, I think we need to be innovative on how we're going to be able to reach, you know, our consumers and our retailers and stuff like that. I think that's the time to do that now. But I think that part of our industry is going to take a little bit longer. But I think the innovative part, I think we've been innovators from day one. Everybody on this page has, and I think we're going to continue to do that. And we'll work that into our business plan as we run lean through these troubled times.
And that's such a good point for everybody that's listening to us today, because we're talking to each other, but we're talking to you guys as well. Arby's point in regards to this is the one, it's the hardest industry and the most complex compliance-driven industry I've ever been. And my background has been healthcare. And just know that this too shall pass. Like the issue of the corona and the pandemic that's here right now, if you even take that away, you still would have challenges. You still would be frustrated. You still would want to like pull your hair out. You still, like Mike, I'm sure with AltMed, I've seen AltMed from the beginning. And shout out to Ron Watson with AltMed and the good things that you guys do, because that brother, he saved me one day at the state capitol. I was so stressed and frustrated and just wanted to pull my hair out. And he just put his hand on my shoulder and he's like, Roz, it's gonna be okay. And like literally, I was like about to cry. And that little tap on the shoulder, that little just hanging there, Roz, that meant the world to me. And that's what this industry is about. That's what we have to remind each other about this. So if you're listening to us right now, just know that we don't take this like, oh, it's gonna, you know, we live and breathe this. And it's going to be okay. And even if the virus wasn't here, you would still have struggles. You would still have challenges, because that's just the industry that we're in right now. So I just want to make sure I make that comment.
No, it's
one thing that I'd be remiss if I didn't mention something that has been really important to me over the last 3 weeks. Our employees, my goodness, it's all about great people. And when this thing is over, I swear, you know, I will never take for granted any of our employees. I mean, for so many of these young people that are showing up every day and working in a dispensary for 10 hours or going out to the grow and doing the things that they're doing, they could easily stay home and make a case for being that, and I would understand that. But they choose to go in and do this, and they're doing it day in and day out, and I'm never going to forget this. I assure you of that.
It's interesting you all bring up all these like different small components of this, and there's clearly a fine line right now between, you know, being an opportunist and just, you know, continuing business as usual. And this has been something that has existed in cannabis from the early days, you know, where people try to balance out profitability with doing good and serving patients, the famous double bottom line. And it's interesting that we're now coming full circle, you know, back to these beginnings where people are a lot more, you know, collaborative and trying to work together with each other. And you know, it's not just you. People on Facebook right now are saying exactly that. You know, John says smaller companies will need to work together and collaborate. Esatipa says, you know, we have to work on engaging with our audiences virtually. So, you know, it's once again generating this whole awareness around cannabis, not just as an industry, but also as a community.
Yes,
and I mean, that's something that strikes me. And since we're almost at the hour, you know, any, you know, concluding thoughts down these lines?
I'll see if I could start off, and I'll let you go. And I got to get on a call in about 10 minutes. For me, obviously, we started off. You know, I got eaten and chewed out in the cannabis industry in Colorado pretty quickly over a 4-year span. but learned it enough to kind of understand where the path was on the hemp and CBD side. We're business people. You know, you got to be a business person to be able to give back. You can't give back unless you're creating revenue. So you got to definitely have that balance. Our biggest thing was providing money to state of Florida, lobbying for 3 years. I mean, Roz was there. We lobbied for the hemp pilot program in the state of Florida. Yep. There was no money behind that. Then we had to pay $1.3 million to be a private partner to the University of Florida to help agriculture, because we feel that agricultural component in the future is going to be big for the state of Florida. So the way that you give back by creating this is by giving back to an industry that's going to be able to grow, that you're not, you know, you're just putting that there. We're continuing. We're on phase 2 on university. We've already have, you know, about 60 plus acres growing different types of seeds. There's still challenges on that side because we have different types of temperatures in the state of Florida. So we have to be business people and somewhat driven by economics at one point in time. As long as you don't lose your vision or your foundation or your culture in your industry, and you continue with those things, you need to create revenue to grow this type of business. And the education, lobbying is not inexpensive. It's very, very expensive. We've been blessed to help pass 3 bills, a pretty part of it. The hemp pilot program, which included 2 universities, and we've donated that $1.3 million to UF to continue the research on that side. Senate Bill 1020, which helped protect the consumer, which is big for us, which allows third-party testing across the board. And then this year, you had the hemp bill to make the glitch bill to make sure that everything was okay with the dry weight, and kind of making corrections on the bill that we passed on Senate Bill 1020. That was a collab of companies that helped do that. You know, we were in Tallahassee a lot, nonstop, getting in front, educating, the stigma, the whole 9 yards. So again, if we don't have the money to do what we need to do as a business, those things would have never happened. So there has to be an equal balance on how we conduct our business, continue to give back, don't get driven as other companies. And again, our industry is not full of angels. You know, we all try to do the best that we can, but at the same time, this is a big industry that gives back to the community. And I've brought that up a bunch of times, where from cannabis to hemp to CBD to everything across the board, they are amazing people in this industry. And the only way we can function to continue to help in any which way and kind of put our brands, all our brands and what we stand as the industry as, hey, we're here, we give back. This is about doing this, but we can't give back without making money. So, you know, we have to be able to do these things to do that. So, yes, it's a difficult balance, but, you know, if you're doing it, you know, we've had employees, and I'll leave you with, we've had the same employees, about 12 of my guys that had started with me that are still with me today. And that's because our culture has been driven, you know, our business is, that's our model. Like, it was culture driven, vision, mission, you know, what we believe in, what we're trying to do. And we literally have the same staff, and we've added to that staff since the day we started. And it was just my partner, Laura, and myself that started this business with literally $180,000 in 2013 when we incorporated. We're a private company. We've never raised a dollar. We've done it all out of pocket. We don't live in $10 million houses and stuff like that. And our company did $56 million last year. And every dollar that we've made, to the best of our ability, has gone back into our business or into giving back to, you know, the first responders. Last year, we gave over $1.5 million back to first responders, veterans, you know, organizations and stuff like that. That's in our books. You know, we're being audited by Ernst & Young. It's in our books. They go through that, and they make sure that you're not making that number up and you're not going through those things. So we are trying to do the best thing that we can, but we also need to be profitable to actually continue to do the best work that we can.
Indeed.
Great. Yep.
I'll just go really quickly. 4 things I would, for those who are listening, go look up the stimulus package. There's 3 of them. The first one has come out. Check and see if you qualify for any type of, if you have a small business, if you have payroll, if you're struggling right now, if you're a sole proprietor, if you're an entrepreneur, you may qualify. Go read the stimulus package. See, there's different sections. Go to our Facebook page, M4MM United. There's a tool there that will help you. Number 2, stay strong, don't give up. Number 3, partnerships, collaborations. Partnerships, collaboration. Find partners, find collaborations. Is not by just design that Javier is telling you that people are on the Facebook page now commenting about working together. We have to do more of that together. Find folks that there's some commonalities. And last but not least, find your fit. This is a time, we're in a downtime, it's a kind of a lull period. Research, find your fit, ask questions. Look and see if other different entry points into the industry you're not thinking about. Do it now while you have this downtime, and then be able to prepare yourself for the ramp up when things turn back to normal. And that would be my recommendation. If you guys need me, you can always find me at m4mmunited.org. That's our website, and I'm Roz McCarthy.
David, Mike?
I can go but wow, you guys both were speaking to a lot of what I wanted to talk about. In what are we doing right now with this time? To me, it really is about focusing on how you're going to bring value to this industry. And the only way you do that is to focus in and continue to elevate what you're doing. How do I do it better? How do I start to work in the new world, and how do I bring that value? Because ultimately at the end, we're talking about giving more than you take. Right? Yep. In business and in life, a good philosophy is just to give more than you take. You'll never feel guilty because you're bringing in, to me, value every conversation, even if you're getting paid for it. And don't ever feel sorry for getting paid if you're bringing that value to the table. If you're screwing people over, then yeah, you know what? That's just, what I mean? You're just going to be exposed as fast as you can. But to me, anyone that's bringing value continues to do that. And, for me, in the sense of collaboration, this is, where I can really say that we're planning this 420 event called Chronic Relief 2020. And this is a virtual digital telethon that we're working on. We're working with all of the media companies. In fact, the last 3-4 days, I've been just inundating with these incredible collaborative calls with media companies, event companies, people that I consider my peers right now that are going through this pain. And how am I saying, you know what, guys, I'm building something. It's not going to be me in front of here, but I want to collaboratively get our audience together. Number one, to bring joy on 420, which is usually like just this part where everyone looks forward to. And now we're hit with this. So there's a positive aspect of that, working together, like you said. And then ultimately, how do we give back? How do we show that the industry is giving back, not only to the industry, but to the world? And that, to me, is where we start looking at, Feeding America and giving the support to them. So to me, anyone that wants to join, if you have a charity, we have a free spot for you. If you're a media company, go ahead, send a message out to people. And, to me, brands too, if you want some great exposure from all of these platforms all at once, this is amazing time to do that. There's not the time is to stop advertise now, where everybody is stopping. You're not stopping. You need to continue to move forward. And now that there are opportunities to get in front of these very captive audience, and I think it checks off all of the boxes. And, again, to me, the fairchild.com, actually fairchild.com is our website. If you want to join us, watch the telecast that's going on from 12 to 5. We're going to go across all of the time zones. So love to kind of have a shout out from Florida, give, everybody some hope. New York, where we're getting people from every aspect so that we can, to collectively get together for one day and do something meaningful. So fairchild.com.
Put us down, David. Put me down, David. I want to be a part of it. I'll call you, brother.
You're a part of it. I'd love to give you a segment so that you can tell
everybody on this stage is coming in.
Look, this is what it is, and love to have you too, Mike. What you're doing is incredible. I just love the way, to you, it's about people. And even when I got in there, it's just, I could tell that that's what you built your company on. And you know what? These are the companies that we need to support. These are the companies who are doing right. You do good, you get good. And this is what we want to support. We want to support those people. And, I want to appreciate C-Labs for having us on here and putting another platform for us to talk about these things and make changes. So someone can connect on this call, or someone can hear something. We've done our job, and it's only taken an hour of our time. So
I guess I would just, I loved everything that all of you have said. I know this is a call really focused on the industry, but I think for all of us, I never thought that I would see in this country what's going on today. And I can't believe the number of people that have been impacted and the number of people that are really having a hard time and the number of people that are scared to death. I think there is maybe more people just scared about what their financial future looks like as they are with the virus. And it's hard to turn on the TV or radio without hearing just dire stuff about the virus at 24 hours a day. But boy, I'll tell you what, if there ever was a time for all of us to sort of be the best that we can be for other people, and I'm not just talking about the financial part, certainly those that can help out in any way you can. This is a time to do it, but we can certainly give our time. There's so many things that we can do for so many people that are hurting out there right now. And again, I think when all this is over, you know, we're probably going to have a better country because of it. So do everything you can. All of us have to do that with our neighbors, our friends, anybody we see, because there's a lot of people in pain right now.
Put that hand on the shoulder, you know, that's really what it is. Even if it's a small act of putting a hand on the shoulder, to Roz's point, just imagine what kind of impact that is.
Yep, absolutely.
Definitely.
Yep.
So
thank you guys so much. Thanks for having us.
Thank you to each one of the panelists who joined us today. For anyone watching, do check out Green Road CBD products, AltMed products. Check out Fairchild and join, of course, their 420 telethon. Consider supporting minorities for medical marijuana. And of course, check out benzinga.com/cannabis. And if you speak in Espanol, elplanteo.com. That has been all. And thank you very much. Stay safe and stay at home.
Take care, guys.